Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Confidently Girl Bossing podcast. I am so excited to have you here and to have got this podcast off the ground. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruby. I run the Confidently Girl Bossing Instagram account, and I also have a book coming out, or it might already be out depending on when you're listening to this. But that is called She Leads. It is a book all about female leadership development, confidence, and overcoming imposter syndrome. Basically all the things that I'm going to be touching upon in this podcast. So I'm very excited for that to come out, and to future me, well done on publishing your book. Okay, so if you're new here, grab a coffee or get comfy on your walk and let's chat about something real, raw, and ever so close to my heart, which is embracing your flaws and why I actually think that they're your strengths in disguise. So this topic isn't just something I talk about or discuss on my Instagram because it sounds good. I'm really talking from experience here, and trust me, I have been through the ringer with this one. So let me take you back to a time when I did not feel confident or strong, and frankly, I had completely lost who I was. So a little bit of a backstory. If you look at some old photos of me, there's some floating around on my Instagram, you might notice something a little bit off. In the first few, let me put my teeth back in. In the first few, I look a little bit bigger. Not really a problem in and of itself, but it's not just my size. I think you can tell from the photos it's the way I am holding myself. I'm not happy and I am definitely not confident. I'm smiling in those photos, but there is absolutely no joy behind my eyes. What you don't see in the photos is what was really happening behind the scenes. I was severely hungover, still drunk in some of them, or worse, actually going through active alcohol withdrawal. There's this one photo where I'm cuddling my aunt's dog. It looks really cute. I look serene and happy and peaceful. I've got my eyes closed and a bit of a smile on my face. But that was actually the morning after my cousin's wedding. Everyone else was having a really nice breakfast, drinking coffee or tea, eating toast, and just discussing the night before. And I was downing mini bottles of gin from the gift bags at breakfast. I thought it was funny at the time, but actually it's hard to even look back at those photos now because I remember how much pain I was in, both mentally and physically. I felt incredibly numb, like I was surrounded by love. All the people I loved most were in that room, but I couldn't feel any of it. My body was there, but I completely wasn't. I talk a lot about confidence these days, but back then I had absolutely none, zero. I drank to hide my anxiety and to pretend like I had the confidence that I completely didn't have. And if I'm honest, I can barely remember those days. They are pretty hazy. As a result of all of those behaviors, I eventually dropped out of university. I moved back in with my mum. I broke up with my partner, who had kind of stood by and watched me become this shell of myself over months and years, and basically hit rock bottom. It was one of the hardest times of my life, and let me tell you, when you are at the bottom, it feels like you will never get back up. So why on earth am I sharing this with you and putting it all over the internet and discussing it on a podcast? Because that version of me, that hungover, anxious, lost mess of a girl, was not perfect, and she still isn't. I am nowhere near perfect at the moment. But that girl is also the reason that I'm here talking to you right now. We love a good transformation story. I love a good transformation story, but what you don't hear enough of is how bloody hard it is to overhaul your life when you are at rock bottom. That is why today I want to focus on owning our flaws. I promise I am an example of the fact that you can turn them into your strengths. Now, that's enough of my story. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But let's get into the quick tips because I know you're busy and I want you to have something to take away from this chat. So let's get into some actionable tips on owning your flaws. So the first one that I'd like to discuss is acknowledge your flaws, don't hide them. This is a biggie for me. When I was drinking, I used alcohol to hide what I thought were flaws, like my anxiety, my lack of confidence, my insecurities. But here's the thing. Pretending they don't exist only makes them bigger. The first step is to acknowledge those flaws. Write them down, say them out loud, just get real with yourself. You'll find that when you face them head on, they lose just a little bit of their power, and over time it becomes less and less. The second thing I'd like to discuss is reframing how you see your flaws. Instead of seeing them as weaknesses, you can start reframing them as unique parts of your story. My struggles with alcohol, anxiety, and confidence, they're now my superpowers. I really believe that. Why is that? Because they've taught me resilience, compassion, and the importance of being honest with myself. What if your flaws are actually the things that will set you apart? Just think about that for 1 second. We all have flaws, but they make us individual and they really do make us strong. The next one is don't compare your journey to others. We are all guilty of this one, myself included. Scrolling through Instagram and seeing everyone's perfect lives can make you feel like your flaws are mountains. But please remember, everyone's path is different. The girl you see crushing it online might have her own battles you never know about. Stop comparing and instead focus on your journey, and I promise you'll feel much lighter when you do. And finally, celebrate your growth, no matter how small. I am not going to sit here and say I've got everything figured out. Lord knows I have not. I struggle daily still, and I still have days where I doubt myself. But what's important is celebrating any progress you make. I went from hiding bottles of gin in my handbag and my water bottle at university to sharing my journey publicly and hopefully helping others with their confidence. Now, I don't think that that's nothing, and I'm proud of the fact that I'm brave enough to stand up and say, this is me. I hid away from that side of myself for so long, and it ended up consuming me. It really loves isolation, lack of confidence. So if you can stand up and stand proud and find other people who support you, then I really do believe it's a huge help. So whether it's a tiny step or a giant leap, just take the time to celebrate where you are today versus where you were yesterday. Okay, I'm nearly wrapping it up, I promise. So here's the thing. That girl in those old photos, the one with no life in her eyes, no confidence in her body, she is still a huge part of me. And that's okay. I don't have to hide her anymore because she's a reminder of how far I've come. And that's what I want for you too. No matter where you are right now, no matter how low your confidence feels, I know you can turn it around. So here's my challenge to you. Embrace your flaws, own them, and use them to fuel your growth. Remember, being a girl boss, whether in business or in life, or just getting through tough times, takes guts. And you have definitely got this. Thank you so much for tuning in to this first episode of the Confidently Girl Bossing podcast. If this resonated with you, please share a hurdle you've overcome. I would love to hear your stories and support them. And let's just keep building a community of women who aren't afraid to talk about the tough stuff because it makes us so much stronger. Until next time, I'm Ruby and keep confidently girl bossing.